Are you still trying to improve the body and details for graphs in Academic Task 1 writing? In this episode, we're going to dig into this now, here on Hacking IELTS. If you're joining us for the first time, this is a YouTube channel and a podcast helping new and intermediate IELTS test takers understand the exam and attain higher results. If you recall from our last video, we looked at a bar graph that indicates the average monthly expenses by Canadian households in 3 years. To refresh your memory, we completed the introduction and overview for this particular chart, but did not actually complete the report with our remaining paragraphs that contain the details of the report. Let's review the introduction paragraph, which we said is the easiest paragraph we can write. Why is this the case? This is simply because every chart you're provided with for IELTS Academic Task 1 writing will also have a description. So, for your introductory paragraph, you can simply paraphrase the description you see for the chart that you're provided with. Easy, right? But you need to remember one really important rule, guys, and that's to never copy the description verbatim or word for word. In our last lesson, we paraphrased the description for our Canadian bar chart, which indicated the expenses of households in 2000, 2010, and 2020. Let's review our introductory paragraph now. The bar chart illustrates the typical amount of money spent each month on utility bills, transport, rent, entertainment, and groceries by households in Canada in 3 years, 2000, 2010, and 2020. Units are measured in Canadian dollars. This last sentence, units are measured in Canadian dollars, is very useful as it's using the passive tense, which we use often for Task 1 writing, and your examiner will notice your usage of various tenses. Second, this is a useful sentence because you are indicating the type of units that are utilized for this particular graph. Your introductory paragraph will be at least one sentence and can sometimes be 2 sentences. But we don't want to go any longer than that. Like anything, practice makes perfect, so make sure you get a lot of practice writing introductory paragraphs. Okay, we have an introductory paragraph. Great. But now, the ultimate and most crucial component of your report is the overview. Guys, if you want to achieve at least a band 6, you need that overview. So, if you have no overview, you cannot get above a band 5 for task achievement, which is 25% of your mark. If you want to achieve a band 7, you need to have a clear overview. That's how important this paragraph is. Remember, we said that it's best to place the overview after your introductory paragraph, just to ensure that it's complete and the examiner marking your report will clearly see that you've completed this essential step for this task. Remember, your examiner will be looking to see that you've included this paragraph. Let's go over the overview together from our last lesson now. Overall, the largest expense was on rent, while the least amount of money spent was on utility bills and entertainment. While there was a significant increase in spending on rent, transport, and utility bills, there was little change in the amount spent on the other 2 items. Do you see how we started with the word overall? This is a critical linker for Task 1 overviews, as it indicates we are looking at the main trends for the chart provided, and it's highly recommended that you use this word for your overview paragraph. It's also important that you can identify at least 1, but usually 2 to 3 trends or key features that are evident in a bar or line graph. Since this is a fairly basic bar graph, we're only addressing 3 main trends: the increased spending on rent, as well as the increase for transport and utility bills. And our last order of business is to state there is little change for the categories of entertainment and groceries. All right, now that we have covered the introductory paragraph and overview, we need to dig into the details of the report, which are usually written in 2 paragraphs. Task 1 writing should be 4 paragraphs in total, and depending on your chart, you'll need 2 paragraphs to write your detailed analysis of the graph provided. Remember, you're being tested on your organization skills, so you'll need to have more than 1 body paragraph to achieve a high score. Organization is another 25%, so make sure that you have 2 body paragraphs for coherence and cohesion. Let's take a look at our detailed paragraphs now. In terms of rent, Canadians spent approximately $450 in 2000, which increased steadily to just over $500 in 2010, and it peaked at precisely $600 for the year 2020. Similarly, the amount spent on utility bills and transportation grew substantially. Utility bills gradually rose from under $100 to $150, while transport costs grew from just over $150 to nearly $250. In contrast, expenditures for leisure activities remained constant, with only a slight dip occurring in 2020. With regards to groceries, the year 2000 saw food prices at just over $300, whereas 2010 and 2020 observed costs at exactly $350 and slightly over $350, respectively. If we look more closely at body paragraph A, we'll see that we are concentrating on the key features of rent, which was the most obvious area to examine, and the steady increase of expenses for utilities and transportation. Did you notice the linking phrase used for body paragraph A? Once again, this was in terms of rent. It's a great linker to use, as our reader will precisely know which category we're writing about. We go on to see that Canadians spent approximately $450 in 2000 and just over $500 in 2010. Just over $500 in 2010 is important to note, as we don't know exactly how much the rent was for 2010, and we're provided an approximate amount. But we do know how much was spent in 2000 and 2020, as these amounts are clearly indicated. Let's take a look once again at body paragraph B. In contrast, expenditures for leisure activities remain constant, with only a slight dip occurring in 2020. With regards to groceries, the year 2000 saw food prices at just over $300, whereas 2010 and 2020 observed costs at exactly $350 and slightly over $350, respectively. First of all, we are starting this paragraph off with the linking expression in contrast, indicating the differences we can see between this paragraph and our first body paragraph. Did you notice that we didn't see the word entertainment in this paragraph? Remember, substitution is powerful, and here we see the term leisure activities rather than the word entertainment. With regards to is the same thing as saying in reference to, as our subject here is groceries. And what about the end of the sentence? This word, respectively. This is a great tool for showing the order of numbers and how they follow the order in the sentence. In this example, $350 is our cost of groceries for 2010, while slightly over $350 is our cost for 2020 in this exact sequence. Okay, guys, this wraps up things for this week. Hey, did this help you out? Leave your questions or your comments below if you're watching on YouTube. Check out our IELTS courses, which are available over on GuruFace, Udemy, and bluebrain.app. And if you're on the go, check out the Hacking IELTS podcast on Apple, Google, and most podcast directories. Thanks for tuning in, guys. Take care and catch you in the next one.